Watch that right. Protect yourself, Scott. Protect yourself.
Wham! Ooh!
Watch that right.
Tank.
And that I beat up, they all deserved it.
This is Tank Abbott, the UFC's very heel.
If you're anywhere and you wanted to fight me back in those days, it was on.
He claims to have over 200 street fights, was introduced as a pit fighter by Bruce Buffer, and literally forced the UFC to change the rules of the sport due to his actions inside the octagon. Tank would drink before fights, knock people out for looking at him weird, and was the epitome of a street fighter turned UFC star.
And if it wasn't for guys like Tank Abbott, I mean, there would have been no early days.
In a time where respectful jiu-jitsu fighters and honorable wrestlers were dominating the sport, Tank Abbott looked like he was plucked out of a dodgy back street bar and dropped in the octagon. And he became iconic for being someone you didn't want to mess with. So these are the times David Tank Abbott fought unassuming strangers.
Unassuming strangers. Why the fuck y'all wanna fight?
With a self-proclaimed street fight record of 245-5, Tank Abbott is truly a unique fighter that no one in MMA history comes close to replicating. He had a permanently angry look, wanted to viciously knock everyone out, and didn't care about learning the ground game all that much.
Everybody thought that the skilled martial artist was always going to beat the fighter, right? But there was you were a skilled martial artist, but you were kind of more of a fighter, just a dude who fucks people up. For you to just be going out there and knocking people out, you became the biggest star of the UFC, even without winning it.
Right.
You know, I mean, you beat a lot of good guys, but your power and your attitude, like when Matua went out and you did a little dance.
But his aggression that made him a star was also a curse, and one of Tank's most notorious stories landed him in prison for 6 months. It was before his time in the UFC, when while working behind the counter at a liquor store, one smart-ass customer got under Tank's skin a little too much. So in response, Tank did what Tank does, beating the holy hell out of this guy until he was in a coma. But it turns out the victim was a detective's son, so they threw the full force of the law at him.
He beat up a detective's son is crazy. Bro, if y'all didn't know, I already did a Tank Abbott video, his whole documentary on my channel, so if y'all want to watch that, go watch that. But bro,
looking through his files,
this is crazy right here, I ain't gonna lie.
While in court, the judge reportedly told Tank he was a manic and that he was stunned he hadn't killed anyone yet. In the end, Abbott served half a year in prison. It's there where he likely developed his freakish strength he took into his career.
This is 600 pounds. Let's see if he can handle it.
The fuck?
Come on.
Okay then.
With his star power, distinct look, and sheer strength, Tank was a shoo-in to be one of those rare MMA fighters who crossed over into pro wrestling.
Not real. He fake.
It's obviously a controversial time to be discussing MMA fighters versus pro wrestlers, but before Raja Jackson, we had Tank Abbott. Thankfully, it's nowhere near as extreme. Back in 1999, Tank Abbott had a brief stint with WCW, one of the largest professional wrestling promotions at the time.
Goldberg ducks the clothesline. Here's a spear. He almost killed Abbott as Kevin Nash dragged Rick Steiner out of the ring. Oh, what a shot.
Almost spurred him a half.
One of his big storylines was with tag team legend and WWE Hall of Famer Rick Steiner. During a ringside interview during a show, Steiner punched Tank Abbott, although it seemed scripted. Whether it was too forceful, actually not part of the plan, or just a bad day for Tank, the UFC fighter responded.
What are you doing coming? You think in UFC you beat up a couple guys, you're gonna come here, talk trash? Yeah, you wanna go? Let's go. You wanna go?
Whoa! Hey, what the hell is going on? Get out of here! Oh my goodness, look at this!
And we got our own tanks!
Steiner, being an accomplished collegiate wrestler and a legitimate tough guy in the pro wrestling world, likely didn't enjoy the fact that Abbott was new on the scene and getting a big promotional push. But to this day, he's pretty calm about the whole situation.
We went down, we threw a few punches, and cops escorted him out. And that kind of led up to then Eric started talking to him, and then he brought him back in. And
I ain't know about that.
I said and said, hey, you don't have a problem working with each other. I said, I don't have a problem working. You know, I'm working. You know, whatever we got to do. So it actually put us together for a little bit, matches, and then they put him with some of the other guys.
Tank, on the other hand, would throw down now if he could.
Rick might have liked to see things his way on that, but if the barrier wasn't there, he'd probably still be laying there looking for help.
Tank's out to knock him out.
what, you happened to be there at the show? And
Sure, it was real, but you know, when things start happening, I didn't want to get in trouble, so I didn't cross the line, so to speak.
In the end, Tank's pro wrestling career came to an abrupt end when he pulled out a knife mid-match. To this day, fans don't know if it was a work or a shoot. Either way, it led him back to full-time MMA and back to another story when he made a future UFC Hall of Famer.
Oh no, somebody gotta let me know in the comments that's for real. He did that for real, man.
Cry literal tears
Tank.
in the training room.
He still is a pussy.
Who?
Tito.
Which Tito?
Tito Ortiz is a pussy mentally.
Damn.
According to Tank, he and Tito Ortiz briefly trained together when the UFC was in its infancy. They were both Huntington Beach born and bred, so it makes sense they were in the same circles in those days. And one time during a wrestling session, Tank got the future 205-pound champion in a front headlock, and Tito didn't react well.
I wasn't turning it up at all. I was actually being kind of soft. And he started crying. I had him in a front head and arm. And he goes, "You're trying to break my neck. What are you doing? Oh my God." And like bawling like a little baby.
Despite some doubt from Rampage about the situation, Tank absolutely doubled down on his story.
I don't believe that.
That's an absolute
Come
truth.
on.
There's one thing that I'll take a lie detector test.
But Tito's an accomplished wrestler, right?
Yeah, he's tough,
yeah,
man.
no,
he got a big neck and a big head. How you put your arm around that big head?
It was a front, he shot on me and I got in a front head and arm and I was squeezing and choking him. And, you know, maybe after he went away with John Lober and started taking steroids that made his head grow so big that he was the pussy that I know him to be.
It turns out Tank Abbott just absolutely hates Tito Ortiz, and it all stems from the time when at a fitness retreat, Ortiz asked Tank to borrow $500. But when Tank told him he didn't have that kind of money spare, Tito reportedly went behind his back and tried to steal it.
Going through my checks, yep, like AT&T.
I think I heard.
Yep. What? And it's his brother's name. And it just happened to coincide with to be the day after he asked me for $500. And it was for $500. That's how bright the guy is.
He ended up bad-mouthing Tito for a good 15 minutes, and probably isn't the only UFC fighter to have that level of disdain for the Huntington Beach bad boy. But before he was in the UFC, Tank was known for his wild antics and almost got extorted by a bar for the trouble he found himself in. And after finding out the UFC initially didn't want him because of it, he took that anger to a bar and unleashed it on some sorry soul.
When Art called him and said, "Hey, that guy is a maniac. He's not only allowed to fight in the show, he's not allowed to be at the show. No effing way. That guy, he's crazy."
So Tank did what Tank does and decided to go to a dive bar to let off some steam. In the bar, things for some reason start to escalate between Tank's friend and a girl, and words get exchanged, when all of a sudden her boyfriend decides to intervene, and then everything goes crazy.
So that Paul didn't beat up her boyfriend, I came up behind him and got double underhooks underneath him from behind and was pulling him back, and all of a sudden I hear this loud crack and a light flash across my eyes. I'm like, what the happened? You know, it was like, sounded like the jukebox machine got broke, you know, the glass on it. What the hell happened, man? And I let go of Paul from pulling him back, and I turn around and there's a guy with a broken pool cue.
Clearly this guy thought smashing a pool cue across Tank's face would be enough to incapacitate.
Boy, you basically just hit a brick wall. Are you crazy?
Him.
Yeah.
Abbott had a chin made of granite, so when Tank turned to face him, this guy realized the critical mistake he had just made.
Obviously, I put two and two together, and his eyes were like, "Oh, that didn't go the way I planned," because he's still standing here. And I don't know because I was knocked silly, but I heard that he got hurt really bad, and that's why the bartender or bar owner wanted to extort money from me.
This is crazy.
from having a tape of me beating up those guys.
Of course, Tank never got blackmailed, and that was that. But another bar fight Tank was involved in actually had himself and Mark Coleman join forces to destroy anyone and everyone in their path.
Bruh. They try to blackmail over a fight tape? That's crazy, bro. You trying to get that money.
They were at a cocktail party with a bunch of fighters and celebrities. Also, there was boxing coach Al Stanky, who just so happened to be Vitor Belfort's coach. And speaking of coincidences, it was immediately after UFC 13 where Vitor Belfort, of all people, had beat Tank Abbott. Someone let Tank know that Vitor's coach was present and being obnoxious.
There was a boxing trainer that was there, and he was kind of an arrogant ass and stepping on people and people that worked there. So they buzzed my ear and said, this guy's an asshole. And I'm like, oh, really? Who? And they're going, Al Stanky, he's over there.
Al
So Tank,
Stanky.
who was already extra angry, went over and stood near Stanky.
I went over in his area, and it didn't take long before he noticed me, and he said something smart. So I ear cuffed him and slapped him upside the head, and then the whole riot took place in this cocktail party. You know, I never understood why you have a cocktail party with a bunch of fighters.
According to Tank, the room turned to chaos. It was an all-out brawl with everyone in the bar involved. But Abbott wasn't alone, and some of the UFC guys took his side, one of them being the very first heavyweight champion, Mark Coleman.
Somebody cold-cocked me, which was no big deal, and then he tackled that guy. And so it was like me and Mark and all those stooges that hung out with us fighting the other side of the party and all their stooges. And it got stopped, and then they were talking about banning it and the whole 9 yards, but nothing came of it.
Although Tank didn't give us too many details, you can only imagine the damage he and Mark Coleman dished out that evening, because even against other fighters, Tank was trying things in the octagon that even the officials had never considered possible.
Couple to the moors, to the hospitals.
Back in 1996, there weren't many rules in the UFC. It was very much advertised as no holds barred fighting.
No one had ever done it before on television. It had never been, in America at least, it had never been a thing. And then to all of a sudden have this.
No time limit, no time division, no gloves.
No rules.
No everything. No biting, no eye gouging.
Yeah, you could punch the nuts, everything.
Yeah.
That's
But
crazy.
if you do a gouge or bite, like Gerald Gordo, as soon as I took him down, he bit my ear on the first year, in the finals, in the first UFC, but there's no punishment. There's no, okay, you're going to get disqualified. It's like, don't do it again, sir.
And while there were discussions and some ruling around eye gouging, biting, and things of that nature, something no one had ever considered was the idea of a fighter being thrown out of the octagon. But not only had Tank Abbott had the idea, he planned on doing it. So during one of his fights, Tank literally picked up his opponent and tried to throw him over the top of the octagon like it was a WWE Royal Rumble.
Oh, you almost threw him out of the mat, out of the octagon.
Oh, yeah,
imagine he threw that out.
I could have thrown that guy 5 rows into the thing. Like I told you, I was very strong back then, and I sat there. I had a minute to think. His ass was up on the pole there, and I go, if I throw that fucker out, he's gonna come back, and I'm gonna have to take him down again and beat on him again. I could just chain pull him off the fence and finish it. And that's what I opted to do.
His opponent claims if it wasn't for his heels stuck in the padding, he would have ended up getting launched onto the metal outside the cage. In the end, Tank opted to simply slam his opponent and ground and pound them until they submitted to strikes. But it made everyone watching at the time aware of a huge oversight from the company. So immediately after they made it illegal for a fighter to try and throw their opponent out the octagon.
They made a rule out of it, I guess.
That you can't throw people out of the cage?
Yeah,
because
you can't.
of you?
Right. And a lot of things they did, they go, oops, we didn't think about that. Like the fish hooking and stuff.
I don't think anyone to this day would have been crazy enough to have attempted it, but Tank Abbott's brain works in different ways to the rest of us. In fairness, the guy was notorious for being in bars, slamming beers, and getting into fights.
Hundreds of street fights, drunk. And it's fun. I swear to you, I'm not kidding you. Charles, I think it was. I'm telling you, the drunker you get, it's kind of like evening out the scale. You're so drunk you can't function. You take some more shots, but at the end of the day, I'm usually walking away and you're usually getting laid on a stretcher and going away.
Damn.
That wild personality mixed with his all-out aggression when it came to fighting legitimately made Tank Abbott a mini-star. Even though guys like Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, Vitor Belfort, and many others were competing, it was Tank Abbott who starred in an episode of Friends when it was one of the biggest shows on television.
Don't worry, Coach, he taught me how to use an opponent's strength and weight against him.
Well, then that guy is in serious, serious trouble.
Tank Abbott, that's
He
crazy.
truly was a wild character, which is why having him come on WCW as a professional wrestler was an absolutely terrible idea on their behalf. Because while YouTube was still young, a video surfaced of him in a backyard brawling with a former opponent he faced in the octagon.
What?
At UFC 11 in 1996, Abbott suffered a pretty unremarkable decision loss to a fighter called Scott Ferozzo. Tank claimed he had an injured knee and that Ferozzo was on steroids. So of course the two didn't see eye to eye afterwards. But fast forward to 15 years later, the two ended up having an underground fight in someone's backyard.
Oh yeah, we like this. We should have got more footage like this.
Minnesota, record of 4-2. Scott, Pitbull, Ferozzo.
Both Tank and Scott were in their mid to late 40s, clearly very out of shape, and it was a depressing spectacle considering Tank was once a star in the early days of the sport.
It was nasty work.
Tank still had some dangerous hands.
Watch that right. Protect yourself, Scott. Protect yourself.
Wham! Ooh!
Watch that right. Protect yourself, Scott. Protect yourself. Protect yourself. Cover up. Everybody, let's camera. Cover up, baby. Cover up. Cover up.
It's over with. It's over.
Cover up.
Cover up.
After this though, there was about 10 minutes of Tank just laying on top of Ferozzo without a lot of action. Tank didn't have the gas tank to do any real ground and pound, while Ferozzo didn't have the energy to get back to his feet. For someone who is so iconic and important to the sport, it's kinda sad he was having backyard fights for no real reason long after his career was over. But that fight within him is 100% the reason he's still alive today. In 2018, Tank Abbott's history of drinking and fighting caught up with him, and he required an emergency liver transplant. It was as touch and go as you could get.
Finally got caught up with all my wildlife and blew a gasket on my liver, but thanks to Cedar Sinai, I got a nice transplant and everything's just moving right along.
He lost over 100 pounds while in intensive care, but thankfully is fighting fit now.
107 days in ICU at Cedar Sinai. So, and I had died 5 times.
He won't touch on my gun.
6, maybe more strokes. It was like a clutter. So I was been out of commission a little bit.
Goddamn madman.
Looking forward to this interview because I'm getting fired up again to go out and do things that I love to do, my passion, and that is to kick ass.
When it comes to UFC fighters and street altercations,
I ain't gonna lie, man. UFC fighters need to stay out of the streets, man. We don't need them knocking people out, bro. And y'all random people, y'all don't know who y'all be talking to sometimes. I better keep y'all head on a swivel and chill out. Hey, man, like y'all subscribe, bro. If y'all want more videos like this, man, I like videos like this, bro. You know what I'm saying? But, hey, y'all let me know in the comments. Let me see y'all next one, man.